Holy shit. I'm only slightly outnumbered. There you go. Thank you, Leslie, for your kind words, and I'm kind of hoping there's a little less SUMO now than there was this time last year. I have been on a bit of a journey myself, and certainly being a part of Radiance, and every year we've sort of increased our connection to the event. And when the event came around again, it was a bit of a no-brainer, because when you look at what's been going on in the world in the last 10 months in particular, an event like this was absolutely critical. And to know that we've been able to help support it in some small way to make it happen, well, it's part of what we do. Leslie alluded to our tagline, which is that adulting is hard, and that doesn't matter whether you're a 20-year adult or a 40-year adult or a 60-year adult. We never ever quite get it right, and our only mission is to keep providing education as entertainingly as possible, so that people can make better decisions with better information. I won't bore you with the history of our business, other than to say that Life SUMO, as our own company, as our own business, is 3 years old. And in that 3-year time frame, we've managed to kick some really unbelievable goals. We're authorised through a licence, a national licence, to provide financial services and financial advice. And in discussions with our licence, we've been made aware that in Queensland we're the second largest practice in Queensland, and we're in the top 10 practices in Australia. And for a business that's been running for 3 years, I'm extremely proud of my team, and certainly the hundreds of people locally that we've been able to help support to get those parts of their adulting right, all the boring stuff that we should have learned in high school but never did. And that's really where we like to position ourselves. But I'm not going to talk any more about Life SUMO, because it's actually really boring. What I wanted to do was just share with you a bit of my journey over the last few months. And I want to preface that by saying that we stand here at a really strange place at a really strange time. And an event like today can often be presented as trying to highlight our differences, continuing to push the divide between men and women. But I decided to support this event because I believe that it inherently actually emphasises is not that which makes us different, but that which makes us the same. Radiance, in our eyes at Life SUMO, was never about fulfilling a feminist agenda, but recognising that the most prolific way to change the world was to start by changing ourselves. And in the last 10 months, we've been polarised by the most major globalised challenge since 1945. Not since World War II have we had to confront our own mortality en masse. Not have we had to stand against an unidentifiable enemy driven by fear and the corruption of human identity. And for many, this absolute test of resilience has sadly not come to fruition. Far greater a way that we could ever have imagined. And as a species, we have allowed ourselves to get divided into an ugly and lazy game of identity politics. We have allowed ourselves to get sucked into a maniacal race to a finish in a game that doesn't exist. It exists only in our heads. This distraction has proven a convenient divergence from creating the love and understanding needed to build our futures by reinforcing the one lie that has perpetuated hate since the dawn of time, and that lie, that our value as people should be quantified on how we identify ourselves and not who we are. On the 28th of August 1963, a speech resonated at the Lincoln Memorial that prophesied a time where the value of our children would resonate from the content of their characters and not by their divisible features. But this bar, this seemingly sensible auditory bar, has apparently been set way too high. We now live in a world that continues to quarantine our worth in gay and straight, man and woman, black and white. We are fixated on the left and we are fixated on the right. We're fixated on Liberal and we're fixated on Labor. And every time we slice up that pie, we create another cut for us to bleed out of, which in essence makes us as humans that much less valuable. The divisions are so deep-seated that believers become zealots and non-believers become ignorant. And these labels only seek to vilify those who don't identify the way that you identify. In an instant, we have chosen to relinquish that which makes us truly powerful to our brand and not to ourselves. And with that erasure of self-awareness, we strangle the essence of that which makes us human. So when the opportunity came to support Radiance, I sat with Leslie and had a really frank conversation with her, which went something along the lines of, I don't think me speaking at this event is going to be a very good idea. And that my take on things, my take on the event was that it was an event of mass significance, but not for the reason that I think you think it is massively significant. Today marks the 4th time that we've been involved with Radiance, but it is the first time that I have been involved with Radiance as the father of a little girl. On the 10th of August this year, we welcomed to the world our very 3rd and very final child, Piper Ivy. And Piper came into the world with a hail of drama, and after a really rocky and shaky start, well, the reality is she changed us all. And holding her hand, or her hand holding my very sausage-like finger through the little glass portal of the ventilator for quite some time, got me thinking long and hard. Here was this ultimately defenseless creature who, in the very first few hours of her life, was fighting harder and harder than I had ever fought for anything. She had showed courage and perseverance as a preemie baby that drove every ounce of her tiny preemie frame to choke down the breaths one after another. She would make these intense little grunting noises as she sucked in the oxygen with every ounce of strength. And I had never, ever seen power like I felt through her tiny hand wrapped around my finger as she held on to me with what seemed like a bizarre reassurance. Not me telling her it was going to be okay, but her telling me, I'm going to be okay. And with every passing day that she would get a tiny bit stronger and her grip would get a little bit firmer, it all of a sudden had hit me. I was now in a knowledge deficit to my week-old child. She had taught me so much about humans and humanity that I began to realize our roles had been reversed. So if I was ever going to help her the way she had helped me, what is it that I would want her to know about life? How would I guide her if given the chance? And so I'm not here to lecture you because I'm not you. I'm only here to share with you, as a father of a young woman, the 5 things that I want her to know as she steps into life, knowing that one day those days will be without me. So the first is this. If you're ever given the choice between being right or being popular, Piper, my darling, in this lifetime you're going to get given that opportunity many times to stand at the crossroads and make a choice. You will be called on, pressured, coerced and driven to do one of 2 things. And in thought, deed and wish, when given the choice between doing what is right and doing what is popular, do what is right. I have been in many situations where I have seen the nastiest of corruptions, where people who ought to have known better have taken advantage of others or lied, cheated and stole in order to advance their own agenda. And often they want to hide behind the path that leads to the popular outcome. But all of this has shown that those who are willing to tread that path of popular over the path of what is right are weak beyond reproach. The popular choice is for losers and sycophants, whether it's a professional body, a workplace, a representative group, when you have had the chance and the choice to sell out your values and beliefs, don't be swayed by the allure of corruption and misdeeds. Why? Because those who would have their noses disjointed by your choice to take the high road matter not. I once heard it phrased like this: lions care not for the opinions of lambs, and your veins, my little Piper Ivy, course with the blood of a lion. Number 2, if you want to find misery, seek out happiness. You don't need to read the cover of too many beauty magazines to recognise that the direct path to misery is in the pursuit of idle happiness. Look this certain way, eat this certain food, buy this certain thing, pray to my magic friend, pray to your magic friend. Quit what is difficult, start what is easy, invest in the snake oil of the gurus, get swept up in the magnitude of coaching. Whatever the sized hole in your heart, find the thing to buy and fill it. The con is simple. The con is live to find happiness. And the problem is that happiness is not a way of life. Happiness is a chemical byproduct. And that chemical byproduct is all too easily fleeting when it is sparked by shallow endeavour. If you want to be happy, and you can, live a life of purpose. But your purpose is exactly that, your purpose. It cannot be manifested by guilt, and it cannot be comparative to others. It is not the whipping boy to live out an existence that conforms to an ideal. And no purpose is weightier than the other. I am sick to death of the guilt felt by mothers who feel that they aren't living their purpose if they prioritise their children over their careers. Likewise, I am equally as appalled that some women can often feel guilty that they prioritise their career over having kids. And I'm sorry that this is your cross to bear. I genuinely am. Because you were born with those bits and I'm not. I can't pass that judgment, but I am sorry that it's something that you have to contend with. I can recognise that a life filled with purpose will be best lived because it will have equal measures joy as it will have equal measures tragedy. Anyone who chooses to make you feel guilty for that choice is, and this is a technical term, a dickhead. If you're in doubt about how to deal with this dickhead, refer to rule number 1. If the choice is between being right and being popular, choose what is right. And take it from me, this is an extremely unpopular position. Dickheads deserve to know that they're dickheads. Consider it a community service. The third of my 5 points that I want you to understand, my little Piper, is that, and this is the most divisive, I'm sure, equality of opportunity is critical. Equality of outcome is not. You were born with everything that you need to succeed in the area that best fulfills your purpose. Success isn't going to come through a quota or a provision that recognises some aspect of your identity. Take it from an overweight brown boy of immigrant parents who came to Australia with £1,000 in their pocket. Your grandfather completed his surgical fellowship 3 times because the goalposts were moved. Once in Egypt, the second in London, and the third in Australia. Your grandmother survived non-Hodgkin's lymphoma by taking on an experimental treatment at a time when the death rate was virtually 100%. Your dad has been to hell and back and built a beautiful business that fulfills a real purpose. And none of that was a gift. All of it was the exact result of exertion, and I refuse to accept that you deserve a leg up because of the nature of your sex, your skin colour, or your religion. I want you to know that the feeling of achieving because you're willing to do what others wouldn't is what is paramount. Because you saw the risks and you took the chances. Because you weren't willing to wait for a handout. If ever, however, you are denied an opportunity, the same opportunity as another, because of your gender, skin, or religion, we will stand together and we will fight. But if the playing field is even, and if you're filling a quota, you're on a slippery slope. My love, you are owed nothing because you happen to win a genetic lottery. And any society that chooses to frame itself this way will only denigrate the achievements of those who let their drive, ambition, and successes be compromised by another who happen to be the right colour, sex, or creed. If you think the future is in dividing the pie up for fairness, when will you stop dividing the pie? Which leads me to number 4. In your lifetime, someone, somewhere, is going to hand you a participation trophy. This does not belong to you. You didn't earn it, and you're going to give it back. This piece of plastic is designed with one purpose in mind, and it is a great example of how equality of outcome is a disastrous proposition. That trophy represents the sum total of nothing. It says, you, Piper Ivy, were there. But guess what, honey? No one in real life gets points for showing up. The only marked trophy given to all of us for participating in life successfully is the opportunity to wake up tomorrow and have another go at doing something spectacular. And that is the only reward you're ever going to get. So accepting any sort of trophy or certificate that thanks you for coming is absurd. And the science is very, very clear on this. Since the rise of the everyone gets a trophy phenomenon, it did not, in fact, incentivize success or improve the ability and standards overall. It actually demotivated the achievers and has lowered the capacity for greatness over time. And in life, when it really matters, not everyone who turns up for their trade qualifications gets accredited for turning up, nor everyone who goes for their driver's license gets it just for being there. And God forbid that you board your flight to hear, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. You'll be pleased to know that I'm up here in the front pressing buttons, and I just happened to turn up. Bottom line, princess, is that when you get given the participation award, please forgive me, but we can't keep it. I hope that one day you'll understand why. And lastly, little Piper Ivy, I want you to know that language matters. Language is what defines us as a civilization, and it's what will separate you from the animals. You're going to be asked to compromise your language on a daily basis, and I'm going to beg of you that you respect each and every word, and that respecting those words means understanding and applying their true meaning. If ever anyone tells you to fake it until you make it, you will have openly been exposed to a dickhead. And as you recall, dickheads deserve to be told they're dickheads. There is nothing clever or bold in faking ability, integrity, or skill. This advice is dumb. If you want something, go for it. Work at it. Perfect your craft and be willing to learn. Be open to the idea that you aren't the smartest person in the room and that we can all be taught. And be open to the idea that you will make mistakes. And I don't care how many mistakes you make. I don't care how many times you trip, stumble, or fall, if it's done with an honest heart and ethical intent. But don't be disingenuous in your conduct just to try and con your way to a stage where you can get paid. And on the matter of language, please, 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 and I'm prepared to duck as I say this, don't do a side hustle. I know that language changes over time. I accept that words can derive new meanings, but side hustle carries with it a gross connotation. To hustle is to cheat or steal. To do that on the side, I'm not even sure that makes it any better. I get the idea that the side hustle is your thing, that you may or may not be your main thing, or that you're doing it until it can be your main thing, but I'm not interested in your hustle. I want to know what you believe, who you are, and what you care about. If you have a job and you're completing another endeavour that is the focus of your passion, don't denigrate it with lazy language. Be open and honest about it. And chances are, I'll respect and honour that more under the guise of something that you care about, because you aren't treating it as a bid to cheat or steal. It may seem like little things, but in the end, you'll come to realise that the little things were the big things. So there we have it. The 5 little life lessons that I want my little girl to know, based on a very plain idea that yes, it is exciting and sexy to get swept up in the grandstanding for the big issues. But there is honour and grace in getting your own world established first. In a life that is desperately trying to cut and divide us and to make our worth based on how we present on the big issues, we are outsourcing every essence that makes us human and are blanding ourselves into a gross beige, where we choose to care less about who we are and what we think and feel, and replace this with an expectation of your position, which can only be identified by your colour, your gender, or your creed. If ever life feels ultimately overwhelming and that the problems are so big that they can't be solved, I offer only this. Maybe the solution is to fix the 5 feet around you, and in doing so, provide a beacon of hope to the next person that they can fix the 5 feet around them. And as that flame passes from one to another and that heat grows from within, isn't that what it means to be truly radiant? Thanks.